It started as an ordinary Tuesday. I was late for a meeting, the kettle still steaming on the counter. The city pressed thin outside my window. At 9:12 a.m., the notification popped up. New email from mynameatme. Subject. Read this. Trust me. I thought it was a joke, a draft I'd sent myself and forgotten. I opened it. The first line was my handwriting. Not literally, but the phrasing, the small punctuation I use when I'm nervous. It said, "Don't take the 11:05 train today. Small things add up." I laughed. I closed the tab. But the message had the wrong date. 3 days from now. I told myself it was a prank, left over from a to-do I'd set up and forgotten. I went to the meeting, tried to focus, but the subject kept trailing like a cold draft. At 11:05, I sat on the platform, scrolling through old messages to prove I hadn't sent anything. When the train roared in, a woman with a cart tripped. Coffee flew, gossip swirled, and someone screamed. A tile cracked near my shoe. Later, a colleague messaged that the 11:05 service had been delayed by debris. I felt the prickle in my scalp. The email hadn't said "don't go." It had said "don't take the 11:05 train today." I'd been there. I almost laughed at myself for being paranoid. Almost. That night, at 2:03 a.m., my phone woke me. A second email. Same sender. Different subject. Do not accept the package on Friday. No context. No signature. I thought about pranksters, stalkers, accounts compromised. I called my IT guy. He swore my accounts were secure. I changed passwords, enabled two-factor, and told myself obedience to security would be the end of it. I even told a friend, who laughed and said, "Paranoid much?" I deleted the message. I slept badly, as if the email had leaned in and whispered in the dark. On Thursday, I did something small and childish. I ordered a novelty mug to be delivered to my apartment Friday morning. If the email was a hoax, it would catch it. If it wasn't, I'd know. I tracked the delivery. On the tracker, the package moved through the system like a ghost. Scanned. Scanned. Out for delivery. My stomach knotted. I debated calling the courier to reroute, but then a second thought. What if changing it mattered? I left it. I told myself the worst outcome was an awkward conversation. Friday morning, the doorbell rang at 9:07. I waited until the second ring. My heart thudded. The delivery box was small, unmarked. Inside, the novelty mug sat wrapped in tissue. An old sticker on the box read, "From N.A." I laughed then. The sound brittle. The email hadn't stopped the package. It had told me not to accept it. I had. Later that day, at work, the news feed lit up. warehouse explosion across town. A delivery van involved in a chain reaction that flattened a stockroom. No names. No direct link. But my chest felt heavy. And for the first time, I understood that the email wasn't a prank. It was an instruction manual I had been given, and I had disobeyed. The emails kept coming, each one more precise, less cryptic. Don't park on Elm Street at 4:15. Don't answer calls from blocked numbers between 6 and 7 p.m. It felt like someone learning my schedule, learning my habits. I began to test them, avoiding a street, not answering a call. Minor things shifted. A horn that would have clipped my bumper, a telemarketer that called, and then was cut off. The corner of my life tightened like a band. I felt safer when following the messages and watched the world narrow. But a question grew. Who benefits from these instructions? And why was I the one receiving them? Then the email stopped advising and started commanding. Do not go to the office on Monday. If you do, the west stairwell will collapse. That night I dreamed about falling, free and slow, the lights like stars passing. I tried to translate the message. Accident. Sabotage. I called the building manager. He laughed it off. But I was already counting stairs in my head, memorizing the exact width and number. I knew my body, my roots. It felt obscene to have someone else moving my hands for me. Still, I canceled Monday. Monday I stayed home. Around noon, a colleague sent a clip. The west stairwell of our building had buckled under an overloaded cart. 2 people fell. They were shaken but alive. I breathed until air came again. Relief washed through me, mingled with a cold gratitude for the anonymous instruction. But with relief came a hollow. The emails had saved me. Someone had saved me. Someone had chosen me. That night I tried to reply. I typed, "Who are you?" and hesitated. The reply returned instantly. "You don't want to know. Obey." My fingers froze. I deleted my question and left my hands on the keyboard like a guilty child. I stopped trying to be clever. I followed. That evening, the email arrived. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. You will be the one who must warn them. I read it twice. Then I read it 13 more times, until the words blurred. Me. Warn who? It hadn't asked me to avoid danger now. It told me to create it. It suggested a call, a staged message, an intervention. The voice on the page wasn't telling me how to be safe. It was training me to be the instrument. I realized, with a cold clarity, that the chain needed another link. If I refused, the pattern would break. If I obeyed, I would become the message The next night, I sat at my kitchen table while the city hummed below. At 8:58, I typed a short email to a contact at my office. Be careful near the west stairwell tomorrow. At 9 p.m., a new message arrived. Good, you did it. Now step outside and listen. I stood on my balcony in the rain, and I heard it. Not a siren, not an explosion, but a shout. A sudden tumble of voices down the street. I called the number the email had provided. A line of static answered. And then my voice, my own voice, said the words I had just typed. The message had been a loop. Someone had used me to amplify a warning. I was no longer a recipient. I was the transmitter. The worst part, the email's final line read, in a tone I now felt in my bones. This is how we spread the warning. This is how we survive. Now, forward it. I stared at the screen, the cursor blinking, the choice thick as iron. I hit send. Outside, a distant light went out. Somewhere, someone else read my words, and it was, for a moment, enough. But as I closed the laptop, the question burned like a brand. If survival depends on obedience, on using others to save ourselves, then what have we already sacrificed? Would you forward that message? Tell me below, and subscribe if you want more stories that ask what we'll give to survive.